What's going on, guys? Matt with MotoWorks here. And yeah, just like the title of the video said, we are going to be taking the H2 here. I got to get it loaded up yet. We're going to be taking the H2 to the dyno today to see what difference the exhaust has made on the bike. Now, this bike has been reflashed. It was reflashed for the ZX10R header with a muffler on it and the Sprint P01 F185 air filter, Sprint air filter that's in it. Say that 10 times fast. And I want to see, if there is a difference by just installing an exhaust on the bike. Apparently this one's going to flow a lot better than what the ZX10 header does. And I reached out to V-Cycle Nut and he said, he would recommend the ReFlash. Obviously, set it up for, its best performance with the ReFlash. But my curiosity is, I do plan on getting the ReFlash done. I just want to finish out this season, and I would like to take this to the drag strip one more time. And I kind of want to just run it on the dyno to check the air-fuel ratio, and make sure the bike's going to be safe before I go take it down a drag strip and potentially do harm to the engine. That's really my main concern today, is if just by installing this exhaust system, did it really change the tune that much, or will it need to be tuned immediately because it puts the bike in a dangerous place? My gut feeling tells me it doesn't. I think it'll be perfectly fine. I don't think we're going to run into any issues. The bike doesn't feel it doesn't feel that different. So, that's just my theory, is that it's going to be perfectly fine and I don't have to worry about anything. But really, I'm kind of doing this for you guys out there that, you get an exhaust system for your bike and you want to know if you have to get it tuned right away. On a carbureted bike, I think the answer to that question is always going to be yes, because you have to physically change the fuel setting to optimize it for the whatever modification you've done. But on a fuel injected bike, I think we'll be okay, and I think the bike will compensate for it, and at least keep the bike safe so that I don't run the risk of damaging the engine. But I'm gonna load this thing up and turn the camera back on when we're at the dyno, and we'll see what it does. Now, if you're looking for outright horsepower numbers, I don't think they're gonna be that impressive. I would be surprised if it makes even the 240 horsepower that's claimed. My best guess would be 215 to maybe 220 horsepower. Maybe. I mean, the bike just, to me, I don't think it's making as much power as it was claimed in the first place. But we'll see. The dyno is the truth detector. Alrighty, it is a beautiful day. It was a beautiful ride. We are here at McNews Automotive. The bike's over there waiting. Ray's in there. He's just getting a car to run so he can get it off the dyno so that we can sneak the bike in there. And again, today is not a tune session. I'm not tuning the bike. The only thing I'm doing with the bike is I'm checking the performance of the bike right now, because again, I put the exhaust on it. So the way it's gonna go is I'm gonna get about 3 dyno pulls today, and anybody can do this. Typically they charge you about an hour's worth of time, because that's about roughly what it takes. And they'll run it 2 or 3 times, put it on the dyno, probably do 2 back-to-back runs, and then a final cool down run where they'll see, kind of what the max power it's going to make with the engine nice and cooled off. Alright, we'll reset it. We'll just reset it down, that's fine. We got it back from the dyno, and there is the result. Just what I wanted to see, a nice, safe air-fuel ratio. I mean, it could be a little bit leaner in spots. You know, it's dipping down into the 11-to-1 air-fuel ratio, but nowhere on the air-fuel ratio did it get to a scary point. The highest it was at idle, or not at idle, but at cruise, right before he tipped in. You know, it was at 14-to-1, which is good for running down the highway. You know, it's going to give you your best fuel economy, and it's not running super lean at that air to fuel ratio. As soon as he tips in, you know, it dips down into the 12s. You know, the lowest it went is about this point here, as well as at, you know, higher RPM. And you can kind of see a trend where it really dips rich. You can kind of see some dips in the horsepower, as well as kind of like you can track it kind of with the torque too. So it could probably benefit from leaning it out in those positions there. We were only able to rev it to about 12,500 RPM. Now, we don't know if this is actual RPM. I don't know if the RPM has been raised on this bike. I would have to send this off when I get it reflashed and just have them look to see if they actually raised the rev limiter to 13. Because as it's trending, if it would have had a 13,000 RPM red line, you know, it would have gone up higher, closer to that 220, 215, 220, which is what I kind of thought initially is what it would put down. But yeah, we couldn't get it much past 12.5. Now, I will say on that, we also didn't have a tax signal per se. He just put it on the dyno, and he was able to, through the dyno, hold it at a certain RPM, tell the dyno what gear he was in and what RPM he was at, and the dyno was able to kind of figure out the gear ratio and RPM based on gear ratio. So that's kind of trick that he could do that through the dyno to get a quote-unquote tack signal. Now, how accurate that is at higher RPM, I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to get this reflashed. I'm going to have them change it to 13,000 as a red line. And then I'm also going to have him change the tune for the Brock's exhaust, because that's what he has right now. He doesn't actually have anything for a hindle exhaust. So that's the next step. I might get an intercooler before I do that. That's the only other thing I want to do, because the intake air temps were getting pretty high on the dyno. And even when I ride this thing around, those intake air temps get pretty high. And, you know, that might even be why this thing was starting to spike rich at the higher RPMs, where the ECU might have been pulling power because, you know, the intake air temps were too high at that point. So that could be what else is going on up there. But the one thing it did show me is that my bike is going to be completely safe to take to the drag strip kind of to finish out the season, which is pretty much the only reason I took it to the dyno, is I just wanted to make sure the bike was going to be safe. And that tune, you know, if you're looking at doing something similar to this and you already have the bike reflashed for a different exhaust system, I could say with a little bit of confidence that you're going to be okay. I don't want to say it with 100. I don't want to say it's 100% guaranteed, depending on what the tune is, how aggressive it was set up. This one here seems to have been set up pretty safe. So, you know, if I had a power commander on this, I actually probably could have got some pretty decent gains out of this thing on the dyno. So, yeah, good on you guys over there at V-Cycle Nut. He, you know, gave this thing a nice safe tune, and yeah, I have no worries running this thing. So it's probably the next place you're going to see me on the H2 is going down to drag strip, try and better my 960 quarter mile time, see what I can do. And I also want to see if maybe this thing has a little bit higher mile an hour out of it. Maybe this exhaust, I didn't dyno it with the old system on it, so I don't know if it picked up, lost horsepower. I really don't know. I can only go off of what the previous owner told me. And allegedly he had the 240 horsepower tune in this. Like I said, I'm only getting 210, so it's more likely he didn't have the highest level tune. But again, I can find all that out by sending the ECU out there to V-Cycle Nut and have them just flash a new tune in it. And like I said, we'll take it back to the dyno and you know, we'll verify those numbers there. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Like I said, I'm anxious to get this thing back out before the season's over. And then over the wintertime, I can tear it apart and take you guys with me. But thanks for checking this video out, guys. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Matt. This is Motorworks.